Welcome to the RFP Success Show with host Lisa Rehurek, the #1 sought-after authority on RFP success. Each week, we bring you information, strategies, or resources to help you win more business through RFPs and have a little fun doing it. Let's get this week's episode started.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the RFP Success Show. I am your host, Lisa Rehurek, the #1 sought-after authority on RFP success. So each week we bring you information, strategies, or resources to help you win more business through RFPs and hopefully have a little bit of fun doing it. So let's get this week's episode started. And today you have me talking to you about differentiators. And differentiators are a little bit of a hot button for me, and I thought this is a great time to have this conversation because I've been looking at a lot of RFPs lately that do a poor job of differentiating themselves. And I want to talk about this. I'm going to get a little bit in my passionate, excited stance here because differentiators, you guys, are huge. It is such an important factor in your RFP response that you want to make sure you get these right. This is not about just pulling something off of your website or pulling out some fluffy language that your marketing department came up with for your company as a whole. That's probably perfectly wonderful for your website and for speaking at that level of audience. But when you are in an RFP response, there is so much going on for your evaluators that you've got to find a way to stand out. And your differentiators are one of those ways. Next week's episode of the RFP Success Show is going to go a little bit deeper into capturing the evaluator's attention. And you're going to hear me talking about differentiators again. But I thought, this week I want to tackle just the conversation around differentiators because it's that important. So here's what I usually see happen. I usually see people say things like, we are great at customer service, or we have, 25 years of experience in the industry, or we really are passionate about what we do. You guys, those are not differentiators. And if I was in a room live with you, I'd ask you all why. So I want you to think for a quick minute, why are those not differentiators? So I want you to think about that for a minute. But here's ultimately why those are not differentiators is, number one, because they're expectations. So if I'm going to hire you, I expect that you have experience. I expect that you have the knowledge. I expect that you have great customer service. Can you imagine me hiring you thinking you didn't have good customer service? No. Nobody's going to hire you. Like, those are just all things that they expect. Those are the baseline. It's like, have you ever had a performance review at work and the performance ratings are, meets expectations, exceeds expectations, and greatly exceeds expectations, or does not exceed expectations, does not meet expectations. And then whatever the last one is, that middle of the row, which is meets expectations, is a baseline. That's what you get hired to do. You get hired to meet the expectations. So yes, when somebody's reviewing your RFP response and they're reading things like that, what they're going to say in their mind is like, yeah, they can do it. Sure, they've got the qualifications. Okay. Do you really want your evaluators thinking that way about you? Hell no. You want your evaluators to be like, oh my gosh, you know what? These guys really stood out because of this. Or these guys really stood out. I really remember them because of this one little piece. I have a little bit of a strange analogy story here to tell you, but I am a spa junkie. I love, love, love going to the spa. And I love getting massages. I love getting facials. And there are very specific things that I expect out of my esthetician or my masseuse. And that's all good and well. And most of the time I'll be like, okay, fine, that person's fine. But for me to be loyal to somebody, to say, this is the person that I really, really, really want to go back to, they always do something over and above and something that is unexpected. And so my esthetician lady that I go to now, her name is Tamara. She is fantastic because she gives the best foot massage. Totally unexpected in a facial, not something that I might normally look for. But once you have that experience, now I don't want to go to anybody else because she's really good at what she does. I mean, she's a great esthetician, but there's a million great estheticians out there. She goes over and above and does something that really makes me happy. Now, in an RFP response, they're not able to experience you yet. So you've got to come up with those differentiators that are going to have them going like, oh my gosh, heck yeah, I'm not going anywhere else. I will change my schedule around to see Tamara. I will drive far to see Tamara, all because of like this. And by the way, this foot massage is really small. It's like in an 80-minute facial, it's like 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. So it's a small percentage of the overall thing. She does everything else really great, but somebody else could do all that stuff really great too, and I'd really miss that foot massage. So what is your foot massage? What is the thing that is going to take you over the top, that is going to give you that excitement and that passion so that the evaluators remember you? You'll hear me say this a lot of times, if you haven't already, is that yes, we're competing for knowledge and experience and expertise. Absolutely. But in this day and age, more than that, we're competing for attention span. In an RFP response, we are absolutely competing for attention span. And these evaluators are tired. They're generally overworked. They're reading a lot of really boring responses. You've got to do something that stands out, and your differentiators are the first thing you have to pay attention to. So please, no expectation in your differentiators. The only time that you can use an expectation is when it's not expected. So it's kind of contradictory. Let me tell you what I mean by that. If you're in an industry where it has a really bad reputation for not meeting timelines, not meeting customer expectations, not having good customer service. So let me give you, and I don't mean to throw these industries under the bus, but you'll know that, there's been people that have given you a bad rap in the past. General contractors. So I'll take this to a personal perspective. If you've ever remodeled your kitchen or your bathroom and you've hired a general contractor, the chance of you being on time and on budget is really low. And I don't know what that percentage is, but it's a very well-known fact. So a general contractor could use those things in their differentiators because it isn't expected. It's expected that you will blow your budget. It's expected that you will miss the timeline. So if you can do anything to prove, and by the way, we're going to talk about that in a minute, it's not enough to just claim it, you've got to prove it, then you can call that out as a differentiator. Now, let's go to the proof piece of that. You also can't just say, we're really great at customer service. If you're going to claim that because you're in an industry that is not known for and it's not an expectation, you better have some proof in the pudding. Meaning, what are you going to do to show me that there's proof behind that? So 99% on time, 100% on budget, anything like that you can claim. You need a statistic, you need something that can back that up, whether it be, some case studies or some testimonials. One alone won't do it for something like that. So your differentiators in general have to also have proof to back them up. So let's talk about what differentiators can be. Your differentiator should be something that sets you apart from your competition. So something that your competitors cannot claim, right? And that's why anytime you can put a statistic to something, like we were first to market, or we were first in the industry, and that's given us the most experience in this particular industry than anybody else. And through that, we have been able to leverage that into, better systems, better processes, whatever that looks like, more clients, all of that kind of stuff. So yes, you can use that. Anything that you can use that your competitors can't use is beautiful. All right. So, one of the other things I love, how many clients have you served? How much, again, this has to be over and above your competitors. Do you have a higher percentage of market share? Do you have any proprietary processes that are unique that you've developed that your competitors, of course, wouldn't have because you've developed it? Do you have any partnerships, strategic alliances, things like that? All of those. And here's the other thing I want to say is that if you're sitting over there going, well, we don't have any of that. What do we do? What do we do? Trust me when I tell you, you have differentiators. Everybody does. And we have clients that come to us and we help them create differentiators or develop their differentiators. And every time they come in and they go, we don't have any, we can't find any. Or I just had a company the other day that I worked with who they have a new technology and they're like, well, we don't have any differentiators because we haven't launched this yet. We haven't done this for anybody yet. But they had so many amazing differentiators around why they even started that company and what caused them to do it and why starting it now versus a technology that's maybe 10 or 20 years old is a benefit to the client. So they're in there, you've just got to dig. And if you've been listening to me for a while or if you've read my book or seen any of my videos, you're going to know this quote by Les Brown: you can't see the picture when you're inside the frame. So a lot of times it's really hard to see it yourself. You're so close to it. So when digging through your differentiators, here's what I suggest. Here's the process that I suggest you do. The first thing is that I want you to write down everything that your clients expect. And please don't do this by yourself. Brainstorm this with other employees, with other colleagues. If you're a solopreneur and you don't have anybody else, which most of my listeners probably have a partner or somebody out there, brainstorm everything that is expected that your clients will expect of you. That's step number one. And it's an important step. Don't skip it. And the reason being is because you want to make sure that you don't use any of those things. And it's really easy to say, oh yeah, I'll remember them. They're in my head. It's okay. No. I want you to write them down and get an exhaustive list. Okay. Then in another day, I don't want you to do this right after you've just done that exercise, but in another day, I want you, and again, not just you, but a colleague, a leadership team, a focus group within your company, however you want to do this, but a group of people to brainstorm like what makes you better than the competition, and get a little crazy with it. And don't dismiss any ideas. I want you to just brainstorm, and come up with a list. And the other thing I want you to do is, if you can't have these people in this conversation, I want you to interview some clients and say, why did you hire us? I want you to look back on any scoring sheets you had, on any testimonials you have, and pull out reasons why people love you. Any letters of reference, any emails that your clients have sent you saying, oh my gosh, you guys are so great at X, Y, and Z. I want you to, kind of culminate all that information and include it, add it to the list. And then the other thing I want you to do is I want you to go talk to some of your employees at every level of the organization. I'm going to give you a quick story. I was working with a logistics company, and they were really struggling to embrace their differentiators. They thought their differentiators were like, these pie in the sky fluffy things that, again, some marketing agency had done for them, which is beautiful for their mission and their vision and the higher level stuff, but not concrete enough for their differentiators. So I was having a hard time getting them to let go. And as we were working through this, an employee popped his head in and asked a question. And I said, hey, can you come in here for a minute? He came in and I started asking him, like, why do you love working here? And why do you think your clients love you? Like, what do you think it is about the company that the clients really love? And he came up with, I think there was like 7 different things that were very, very strong, concrete differentiators that the leadership team didn't know. He was a truck driver on the front lines delivering things, and he was talking to a whole different level of person in the company that they were delivering to. So sometimes when we get in this, hey, I'm the CEO and I'm talking to the CEO, no offense, but you're a little bit out of touch. And yes, is the CEO buying? Maybe. The agency director buying? Maybe. Absolutely. But when you start getting to those things that the frontline employees really resonate with, that'll resonate with the higher ups as well. So that's another place to get some differentiators. And it's really powerful when you ask the questions. Even more powerful, and I like to do this if I'm doing differentiators for a larger company, I always ask, do you have any employees that came from a competitor? All right, let me talk to them. And I do a quick little interview and just ask them some questions. The questions that you ask are important, and then you have to be able to pull the differentiators out of all that information. You're going to be collecting a lot of information. You need to be able to then, pull out 3 to 5 differentiators that are really going to make a difference. But once you have all that data, you're going to be able to see it. You'll start seeing patterns. I can immediately see patterns once we do all of that. But it's that 3-step, 4-step process, and it's important to go through all of those steps. So step number 1, write down all your expectations. Step number 2, brainstorm what makes you different. Step number 3, talk to your clients. Step number 4, talk to your employees. And then really step number 5 then is to take all of that information and pull out your differentiators. And here's the other thing about differentiators. Please don't be shy to make them a little bit fun and snappy and not stodgy and too corporate-esque. Yes, it depends on the environment that you're in, but remember the people on the other end that are evaluating these are human. When they read, I don't care how stodgy of a person you are, we still want to read something interesting. And if you sound like all of your other competitors, you're just going to blend in. And if you're blending in, you're not going to get the win. Not always. Sometimes you might because everybody else is blending in. But the best way to get the win is to stand out and really stand your ground and plant your flag in those differentiators to prove to them you are the one that they want to do business with. I am so super crazy passionate about differentiators because they will make all the difference in the world. And here's the other thing about your differentiators, folks, is do not just put them in that proposal response once. They need to be sprinkled throughout so that you keep reminding people. We have to hear things 7 to 10 times before it really resonates. That's why I always suggest everybody have a theme in their proposal. That's a whole other topic. But it's important that they hear your differentiators more than once. So you got to sprinkle that throughout your response in different ways, right? So go forth, create your differentiators. I would love to hear them. So you can always email me, lisa@lisarehurek.com. Go on to social media and connect with me because I love to hear how people have done more with their differentiators. As a matter of fact, I have a new client who we did a proposal review for and helped kind of guide them in the direction of getting their differentiators. And they did the exercise and they won their first ever RFP. First ever, you guys, first ever, because they really embraced that exercise and really, really, really showcased their differentiators in their proposal. So it will make a difference, I promise. One of the most important things you can do, go forth, create your differentiators. Thank you for being here. You have been listening to the RFP Success Show. I am Lisa Rehurek, and until next week, good luck with your RFP responses.
You have been listening to the RFP Success Show with RFP expert Lisa Rehurek, author of the RFP Success book. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, make sure you click the subscribe button so you don't miss a show. And thanks for spending time with us today.